Welcome back, everybody, to the Renaissance Humanism podcast. In today's episode, I will be discussing the controversy surrounding Isabella Maria Deluca. She's a conservative social media influencer, content creator, and book. The reason why she's facing some controversy is due to a video she's been created, and that this video is getting controversial because in the video she's wearing a t-shirt that was tight in her body. It was just form-fitting clothing, which women tend to wear in Western societies. It was completely normal clothing. The problem with it now in society, it's a sick society where it's over-sexualized and we're seen as a sexual content, even though she was just doing some baking, normal baking. She wasn't doing any funny, she wasn't doing any faces, she wasn't doing anything other porn stars. She's not a porn star, but porn stars can create this kind of content as well. She was doing nothing overly sexualized. Now, if you look at her content now, she's covering herself up, she's hiding her body, as if she lives in the country of Saudi Arabia, she lives in the United States. And now she's covering up more, she's not showing any skin, she's not showing any of her figure, any kind of thing like that. But what she is, she's not an over sexual woman, she's what I would call a healthy woman. Because in the United States, over 73% of adults are overweight and obese. In the United Kingdom, that's 63.8% of the population. So we've got a huge swathes of the UK and US population, both English-speaking peoples, that are massively overweight. So somebody like Isabella Deluca, only with a figure that's healthy, that looks after themselves, it's going to naturally be over sexualized as well because people are attracted, be they men, be they women. Human beings are attracted to healthy people, healthy and happy people. With more and more people suffering from things like depression, body issues, addiction to social media. That means somebody who's going to be happy, somebody who smiles, somebody who's confident is going to be hated upon. And that was happening now. It's not just one isolated incident, it's something that's affecting the whole of society. I'm using her as an example of this, not just singling her out individually. It's something that's affecting us all. And also because society is over sexualized. According to statistics from YouGov, nearly 60% of men in the age group have watched pornography before the age of 18. For women, it's nearly a third at 32.5%, which have exposed to pornography before the age of 18 or admitted it. Now, pornography presents a false view of what sex actually is. But in pornography, what you're actually seeing is not actual couples having sex. The closest thing you'll get to it in the digital medium is romantic movies where the couples are eye to eye and they actually look at each other. If you see pornography, the couples, well, not couples, the stars, they very rarely look at each other in the eye. They don't look each other in the eye. They don't particularly kiss. And the way they move their bodies as well, they're doing it for the camera angles. It's all about camera angles because what they're doing, they're creating a production. It's a production. It's being filmed. It's a camera crew, and they'll do that several times as well. It's not a romantic or sexual experience. And that's the problem with pornography. It puts forward a false image of what sex is actually like. But what you're actually seeing is something that's scripted, something that's very deeply emotional, and it's just a product. And that's where I think now the Zoomer generation, born between 1997 2010, some do it from 2000, 2012, but the Zoomer generation, they're seeing sexuality in the form of pornography. That's one reason why they're also having sex as well. Also, part to do with COVID, but also because they've been raised in a society without religion, without faith, and without norms. Sexuality and relationships are something that's important as well. It's just seen as something that's commercialized. It's why you got young men and young women saying to each other on dates, what do you bring to the table? You'd say, what do you bring to the table during a job interview? Not when you go on a date with a young man or a young woman. That's making the relationship commercialized. It's where there's got to be a contract. Who's going to do what with responsibilities, which is okay if you're actually in a relationship, not when you first meet him, when you're discussing who's going to do the washing up, when's going to happen, who's going to cook dinner which day, when you're going to have sex, how many sex times a week, Who's going to look after your mother when she starts getting ill and sick? Who's going to look after your father? Where are we going to go on holiday? All those kinds of questions come up when you're actually in the relationship. The only time set conversations on sexuality and sex could be brought up maybe during the first date as well, because you want to ask somebody, will you see yourself in 5 years? Why do you want a relationship? Those kinds of questions are completely fine. When you get towards the end of the day, you want to establish when do you want to actually have sex as well? Do you want to date over a period of a month, a week, or 3 months? Uh, Depending on your profession as well, you might have much time. So, say you're both dating in a city, if you're in a city like Manchester, if you say you're going to date each other for a month, you can arrange to meet each other when you both go on your breaks as well. You can go for a cup of coffee and just call for 5 minutes. It could be something that you could do as well. Or you could arrange to go on a date on a weekend of hours. You get to know each other. It can be like go for bowling. You can also go bowling. Um, Go for food because food's like a given. Someplace nice and public. Do crazy golf. Do not do movies during when you get to know each other because movies you can't really get to know each other that way. That means you've got something there you can plan out you can do throughout the day. It can be something fun as well. Maybe do something active, see a museum. You can make a day of it. And then you leave it at that. So it's on. I would say on your fourth day, then if you both agree beforehand, see you're going to lay the ground rules out on the first date. Because on the first date, do not bring up sex until the very end of it, and anything sexual. You want to say you want to get to know each other. You know your interests, your hobbies, your goals, your life goals, your motivations. What do you want from the world? What do you want from your career? When you would like to have children? It's like these normal conversations that people should be having when you get to know each other. At the end of the day, you simply say, "How do you want to date? Do you want to just date for 3 or 4 months? Do you want to date for a month, or are you just going to have this normal 4 days, and then have sexual intercourse?" You don't say this is like doing this. You just make it clear, like if you want to have a longer date, dating period between 3 to 6 months, you make it clear as well that you're not going to be paying for everything. You will pay for the first date, so that's traditional. But you're not going to pay for subsequent dates. On those other dates, you will split the costs. You get to know each other. That's if you decide to go on a long dating period. If it's a short dating period, you do the same as well. You say when you go for your first date, you offer to pay for the meal, and then for your other dates, you split the bill, and then you make it clear on the fourth date or the third date that you're not expecting sex. You're expecting the woman to actually interested in having sex because point of having a relationship, having a partnership is that eventually you will have intercourse, you will develop these connections, you will develop love and romance, and that's what you're aiming for. The problem is with modern data, there's no structure, so it can also sound incredibly technical as well, incredibly transactional. When you want to try to be honest, that you don't want a transactional relationship. We want a deep relationship based on love, action, and mutual respect. It's without mutual respect, what's the point of having a relationship? Because if you're a man, the moment the woman starts losing her looks, what's holding your relationship together? You've got a duty, you've got responsibility, but if neither of you agrees on your morality, agrees on your interests, if you can't have a good quality conversation, then there's no point continuing. In fact, if on a date, you're speaking to someone in 3 hours, and if they barely speak to you, that's a negative sign. So I'd just leave it because it will be a dud, or you can keep going on the relation, keep going on the dates. The next relationship is dating, and if chances are she doesn't sleep with you by on the fourth date or the third month, but it depends on the person. It's probably a totally waste of time. That's why you split the bills as well, because at the very least, you might have had some good company or time. So understand if you're living in cities, you're away from friends, you're away from family. Going and dating can also help to fight the loneliness as well. That's something to be aware of. I think that pretty much covers everything. I will leave my Medium blog link in the description. You can read my other content there on geopolitics, on relationships, on sexuality, on IQ, because I have a broad repertoire. I've been writing this. My recent writings have been primarily been on geopolitics, just because I want to focus on that kind of thing as well, and also relationship stuff. just because it seems that content can actually generate revenue as well. Uh, Back to your time. Let's listen to this, and peace out. Take care.